we are going to be diving into your financial lineup. Who do you need, who to watch, and when it all matters with Caprice Gossett. In this session, you'll get a clear breakdown of the key financial players that your business needs, from bookkeepers to strategists, and how to make the most sense of the reports and metrics that matter the most to your design business. Caprice is the founder of Propos'Ability and a financial architect for interior designers who want control, clarity, and choice. With a background in accounting and a decade of business ownership, she translates numbers into insight and insight into freedom. Her mission is to help designers build businesses that are not just creatively fulfilling, but financially sound. Please join me in welcoming Caprice.
Hi there. Hi, everyone. Okay, actually, I think I just shared the wrong screen, so I'm going to try this one more time.
All good. All good.
Okay. Hold on.
Looks like the chat is already bumping.
Yeah, very good. Okay. Do you guys, Helena, do you have my presentation?
I see trees.
Okay, nope, you see my background. All right, let's try this again, please.
It's always fun with technology. We did do a rehearsal of this in the backstage, and somehow it changes as soon as you're live. Hey, that's it. We got it.
We got it. We got it. All right. Very good. Very good. All right. Hello, everyone. I'm so glad you're here today. As business owners, time is hands down our most coveted non-renewable resource. So I want to thank you for spending a little bit of time with me. I don't take that lightly. With that being said, today we're diving into a topic that for most designers is confusing, often overwhelming, and usually avoided until it's urgent. But it's also the difference between constantly second-guessing your decisions and running a business that pays you well, supports your goals, and actually makes sense. So we're talking about how to build your financial support team, who's who, what they actually do, and how to stop hiring the wrong help just because someone has a certain title. I'm going to break down the key roles that you need to understand, the reports you should be looking at, and how to finally choose the kind of support that gives you clarity, not more chaos. Now, if you have questions that come up as we go along, drop them in the Q&A section. I'll be keeping an eye on it, and we'll leave time at the end of our session to have a question and answer segment. Let me tell you all about one of our clients, a design duo who started their firm back in 2009. For over a decade, these two talented partners did everything they could to build a thriving business. But when it came to the financial side, they were constantly stuck in a loop of hiring, being hopeful, getting frustrated, and firing, and then going back to the hiring, always hoping that this time they'd finally get the clarity that they've been searching for. Each time it felt like they were getting pieces of the puzzle, but never the full picture. They told me, "We work with so many professionals, and yet we still don't understand our numbers. We're making money, but we can't see where it's going, and we've never felt confident about paying ourselves consistently." What was their biggest challenge? They understood the word accountant to mean someone who did everything: bookkeeping, tax filing, budgeting, strategic planning, and cash planning. But no one ever told them that these were completely different roles. So they kept hiring based on titles, not realizing the gaps that they were still leaving behind. When they came to us, that changed. Instead of trying to find one person to do it all, they got a connected financial team, each expert focused on their role, but aligned around their specific goals. Suddenly, the books were accurate, the reports told a story, their cash flow made sense, and for the first time ever, they were able to pay themselves each a six-figure salary. Not because they worked harder, but because their financial system finally worked for them, not against them. That transformation didn't happen by accident. It happened because they finally had the right financial team around them, people who understood the unique challenges of a design firm and worked together to bring clarity, not confusion. And honestly, that's a big part of why I do this work, because I believe every designer deserves to feel confident and in control of both their business and personal finances, not getting stuck guessing, patching, and piecing together advice. As I mentioned earlier, I'm Caprice, founder of Propos'Ability, an accounting and advisory firm that exclusively works with interior designers. Designers are often surprised to learn that even though I'm an accountant and wealth advisor today, for most of my life, I did not think I was good with numbers. In fact, I failed nearly every math class I took growing up. I avoided the numbers, I second guessed myself, and I truly believed that being good with money was something that other people were just naturally born with. So the fact that I am here now helping designers to build financial systems that confidently lead with numbers is more than just ironic. It is proof that these concepts can be learned, that financial clarity isn't about being naturally analytical or math-minded. It's about having the right tools, the right guidance, and the right language. So again, that's a big part of why I do this work, to show designers that you don't have to be accountants to be in control of your money. You just need a system that speaks your language and a partner who gets your world. Back in 2015, I started working with my first interior design firm, where I was initially brought in to manage the accounting, but as often happens in small businesses, that quickly snowballed, and I found myself overseeing procurement, expediting, and project management. It was through that experience that I saw firsthand how financial decisions touch every aspect of a design firm, and how often designers are left trying to navigate that complexity without clear guidance. Over the years, I've seen one challenge come up again and again. No matter the size or structure of the firm, it's hard to find the right financial support when the roles, responsibilities, and qualifications are so often blurred. That's why today we're going to clear some things up. In this industry, there's a lot of overlap and a lot of assumptions, and not nearly enough clear information about the financial professionals that you're told you need to hire. When it comes to building the right financial support team, one of the biggest barriers is not knowing who does what, or even what to look for. And you're left wondering if a bookkeeper, an accountant, a CPA, or a CFO is the right fit. And honestly, what's the difference between all of them? So today we're going to clear it up. In this first part of our session, we're going to look at three main areas where things often get convoluted. The first area we're going to look at is role distinction. You've likely heard the titles bookkeeper, accountant, and CPA used interchangeably, but they're not. Each role has a specific focus, and understanding these differences is the first step into knowing who you need and when. Next, we're going to look at responsibilities. Just because someone can do something doesn't mean it's part of their core job. So we're going to look at who does what and where their tasks begin and end. And finally, we'll look at expertise. Who really understands creative businesses? Someone can be great at what they do from a technical perspective, but if they don't understand the rhythm and nuance of your design firm, the support often misses the mark. I want you all to walk away today with a clear understanding of each role, how they work together, and what you should be looking for based off of the season that your business is in. Now, before we jump into the financial roles, I want to introduce a concept that we share with our designers. I refer to this concept as Penny Pendulum because it helps shift the way we think about money. Instead of seeing it as something fixed, it reminds us that money is always in motion, moving between the past, the present, and the future. Most of us were taught to see money as something fixed. You earn it, you spend it, maybe you save it if there's something left over. But in reality, money is always in motion, swinging between the past, the present, and the future. The past gives us the story. It's where our bookkeeping lives. It shows what came in, what went out, and what's left. It's hindsight, but without it, we're flying blind. The present is all about cash flow. It's where you ask, what do I have right now? And what do I need this money to do today? It's about timing purchases, hires, and keeping the business moving. And then there's the future, forecasting, goal setting, and long-term planning. Where are we going? Can we afford to grow? Will this pace get us where we want to be? Again, the pendulum is always swinging. And to lead your business with confidence, you need to see money not as a moment, but as a rhythm. So the concept of penny pendulum is about understanding that full arc and building a system that supports you across all three. And that's exactly where understanding the financial lineup comes into play, because different roles support you in different parts of that pendulum swing. So that's what we're going to unpack next. One of the biggest reasons designers struggle with feeling in control of their numbers isn't because they're bad with money. It's because they've been trying to do everything themselves, or they've hired someone thinking that that one person can do everything. Just like you wouldn't expect your CAD drafter to run your installs, you shouldn't expect your bookkeeper to run your entire financial strategy. You want to look at your money the way you look at a project. It moves in phases, and each phase needs the right tools and the right support. Let's call phase one the past or your project archive. This is your history, the part of the project where everything's being documented. Your bookkeeper is sorting receipts, entering expenses, logging every transaction, just like your expediter tracks every order. At their core, bookkeepers are not interpreting data or giving strategic advice. Their job is accuracy, not insight. But without accurate records, no one else can do their job. Your accountant is double checking that everything is correct and compliant. They take the raw reports and say, here's what this actually means. Here's what's working. Here's what needs to change. Without this layer, you're often looking at numbers on a report and you're left guessing what it all means. Accountants translate your reports into real life decisions, things like, can I hire someone or should I raise my prices? And then your CPA or an enrolled agent is making sure that your records follow the rules and that your business stays compliant. Your CPA files your income taxes, tying everything together. They're the ones helping you to avoid legal or tax messes, and they can speak in your behalf before the IRS in the event that it became necessary. This phase one, is all about accuracy. And if this part is messy, then everything else gets off track. Next, we have phase two, the present, or what I like to think of as today's dollars, today's decisions. This is the day-to-day. A cash flow planner works with your now. They help you manage what's coming in and what's going out in real time. This is who helps you stop the guessing game. No more can I afford this, but instead, here's what's safe to spend and here's what's off limits. Phase three looks at the future. It's designing for what's coming next. We start looking ahead. The CFO is the one aligning your goals with your numbers. They're running scenarios. What happens if you raise your rates? What happens if you hire a second team member? What happens if you shift your services? They're not just reacting. They're helping you engineer a financial future that actually works. So this is where you stop asking, can I afford it? And start asking, what will it take to make this happen? So similar to one of your actual projects, you need different players at different times. Trying to rely on just one financial pro to do everything is again like asking your CAD drafter to style your final photo shoot. It's not fair to them and it's not good for you. Your money moves through phases, past, present, and future. When your financial support matches that when your financial support matches that rhythm, you stop scrambling and start leading. Now, one important thing to understand, and this is where a lot of confusion comes in real life, these roles are often blended. It's not uncommon for a bookkeeper to prepare some basic financial reports, or for an accountant to file sales tax, or even for a CPA to offer coaching or strategic advice. And that in and of itself is not necessarily wrong. It just means you need to be clear on what you need and whether the person you're hiring is actually qualified to provide that. The biggest issue isn't that people are wearing multiple hats. It's that you as a business owner aren't always being told which hat is being worn and what's being left off. So your job as that business owner isn't to become a financial expert, but it's to become an empowered one. Know that there is a difference between all of these roles, and don't be afraid to ask questions so that you can make sure that the skills you need at any given time are being met by the right person. Now that we can relate the financial support that you may need to the phases of a project, let's talk about what you can expect from the players sitting on your financial bench. One of the biggest reasons designers end up frustrated with their financial support is simply no one sets clear expectations. They think, well, I've hired an accountant, so why don't I have cash flow clarity? Or my bookkeeper runs my reports, so why do I still feel like I'm guessing? Let's fix it. Here's how to think about each player on your bench, what they do and what they don't. As we've discussed, your bookkeeper is focused on the past. Their job is to keep your financial house clean. They track every transaction, categorize spending, reconcile bank accounts, and make sure that the raw data is accurate. The key here, they're not strategists. Don't expect them to tell you if a project is profitable or to help you with spending decisions. Think of them as logging every play, not calling the plays. Your accountants sit in the past as well, but with a compliance lens. They ensure the books are structured properly, reports are accurate, and depending on the scope, they may handle sales or payroll tax as well, filings. But not all accountants do taxes, and not all of them are strategic. Most of them won't help you with forecasting, building financial tools, or guiding the growth of your business. They check the math, not the meaning behind it. Now, a CPA or an enrolled agent is your licensed tax expert. They file your returns, they help you with compliance, they represent you if things get tricky with the IRS. But a common trap here, just because someone can file taxes doesn't mean that they'll help you plan for them. Some are proactive, some just file and go. So if you need tax strategy or tax planning, you want to make sure that you're asking for that upfront. The cash planning role lives squarely in the present. They look at what's coming in and what's going out right now and help you to answer the question, what can I safely say yes to? What's off limits for now? And this is how you stop guessing and start spending with confidence. Your CFO is your financial strategist. They're the ones bringing it all together. They can see across that pendulum, past, present, and future, and they help you to build a game plan for profitability, for pricing, for capital, and for scale. So you want to think of them as your financial creative director. They're not managing your QuickBooks or filing taxes, but they are driving the vision, not doing the data entry. The key takeaway here is that each role adds something essential, but none of them do everything. So when you're building your bench, the goal isn't to find one magical unicorn of a person who can wear every hat. The goal is to match the right person with the right phase of your financial journey and to set a shared expectation from the beginning about what services you'll be getting. And that's how you're going to avoid confusion, miscommunication, and that dreaded, I thought you were doing that moment. Again, you don't have to become a financial expert, but you do need to become an empowered one. So ask questions, define the role, clarify the support. Because when you do that, your financial bench stops being a cost to you and starts becoming your competitive advantage. So now that we've cleared up what the different financial roles actually mean and what you can and can't expect from each, you might be wondering, what exactly should I be looking at to manage my money well? Because roles are just one part of the picture. The other part is information, specifically the financial reports that tell a story of what's really going on in your business. Now, most designers find themselves either overwhelmed by numbers, underwhelmed by insights, or stuck looking at a bank balance and hoping it tells them the whole story. But when you can't make confident decisions, you don't know what you're looking at. So we're going to walk through the key reports together, and I'll show you how to actually make decisions from them. And just to clarify, these reports aren't tied to any one system. Whether you're using MyDoma and QuickBooks or Studio Designer or something else entirely, these are the core reports that should be part of your foundation, the foundation of your business. They're universal because the structure of your finances don't change based off of the software that you're using. The only things that change is how easily or beautifully that software lets you see the numbers. Now, Full transparency. I personally prefer Studio Designer for this. I've worked with it for years, and I find that its reporting system is especially helpful for interior designers. The reports are already aligned with how you run your projects. So instead of having to hack a system that was built for retail or restaurants, you're working with something that was built to understand sourcing, procurement, retainers, vendor payments. It's not a perfect system, but in my opinion, it is one of the most designer intuitive options out there. That said, whatever tool you're using, these reports should still exist. Before we dive into all the juicy insights that you can pull from your financial reports, I want to pause and say this. These reports are only as good and as helpful as they are accurate and up to date. You could have the most beautifully formatted balance sheet or P&L, but if the numbers aren't current or if the transactions are miscategorized, it's like trying to make decisions with an incomplete and inaccurate floor plan, or worse, a completely wrong floor plan. If the information is outdated or inaccurate, it's honestly irrelevant. It can lead you to the wrong conclusions, false confidence, or unnecessary panic. So even if you're not a numbers person, even if you don't feel that you fully understand the technical nature of these reports, here are some practical things that you can do. Look at the details behind the totals. Click into the transactions and ask questions. Does this number make sense based off of what I know has happened? Are all the invoices I sent out actually showing up as income? Do these expenses match the real world spending that I remember? Again, you don't have to be a financial expert, but you do want to become the kind of business owner who says, hey, can you review what's behind this number? That one habit alone will help you to catch errors early, improve the accuracy of your books, and give you way more confidence that your reports are actually telling you something beneficial. Now, just to set the stage, there are a lot of reports in each platform that you can use, especially when it comes to managing specific projects. You've got tear sheets, proposals, purchase orders, spec sheets, freight tracking reports. The list goes on and on. But for the sake of this discussion, we're not going to look at the project level reports. We're going to focus on the core reports that impact your business as a whole, your firm's financial health, your ability to make strategic decisions, and your confidence as a business owner. These are the reports that help you answer questions like, can I hire? Am I pricing right? Can I afford this investment? So while the project reports are incredibly valuable, today we're going to zoom out and make sure that the foundation of your business is strong. I like to personally start with the balance sheet because it acts as a checklist. So you can run down this list. It lists all of the major accounts that you'll want to pay attention to. It gives you a high-level snapshot of where your business stands financially at any given moment. We teach our designers to use it as a scan tool. Start from the top and ask yourself, does each number make sense to you? This isn't about knowing the accounting rules, it's about trusting your own instincts and curiosity. For example, at the end of the month, if your cash balances don't match your bank statements, that's a sign that it's time to dig deeper and to determine why. There may be legitimate reasons that your balances may not match. Maybe a vendor check didn't clear, or maybe a client payment is still pending. But it could also mean that a transaction is missing, or that something was entered twice. If something seems off, it's a good sign to dig deeper. Same thing would go for, let's say, accounts receivable. If you know that all your clients are paid up, but the AR line item is still showing a big balance, that's a sign that something's off. Maybe something didn't get marked as paid, maybe there's a duplicate invoice. I want you to think about the balance sheet not as a scary report full of jargon, but as a tool that helps you ask better questions. You don't have to memorize every line. Just know that each account listed should match something real. And when it doesn't, you pause and you explore. And that's how you start building financial confidence. Not by knowing all the answers, but by learning to spot the things that don't quite add up and following that thread from there. The profit and loss, or also referred to as the P&L, is probably the most familiar financial report. And at its core, it's pretty simple. It tells you what came in, what went out, and what's left over. But here's the thing. If you're skipping to the bottom line to see if you made a profit or not, you're missing the real value. The gold of the P&L is in the line items because it's where your business story lives. When we review this report with our designers, we ask, is income, sales, in proportion to the cost of sales? Meaning, is the amount of money that was spent to purchase products and services, is it in proportion to what the client paid for these items? If it's not, we know something somewhere in our system is off. Where is money going? What are your expenses aligned with your actual goals right now? Are margins growing, shrinking, staying constant month over month? Is your team cost creeping up faster than your revenue? This report isn't just for tax time, it's a tool for making real-time decisions. Now, let's take this a step further with something even more powerful for interior designers. The P&L by job, also known as the client profit report. This report breaks down your profit and loss per project. It allows you to zoom in and ask, did I price this project correctly? Did I actually stay on budget? Were my design fees enough to cover the hours we spent? This is where you start getting really honest about your pricing and your process. Because sometimes a project can feel successful, but when you run the numbers, you realize you're barely breaking even. After implementing our end of project financial review, one of our designers found that although her hourly rate was $250, the effective rate for that project based on how much time she spent was less than $50 per hour. Doing a deep dive into the client profit report and her timesheets, we were able to spot and correct the problem. On the flip side, you might discover that one particular type of project is consistently bringing in higher profit margins, and that can help you to decide to focus on that and grow. When you get in the habit of reviewing your profit and loss by job, you stop flying blind and you start refining how you quote projects, how you staff, and how you project out your project timelines because you have the numbers to back it up. This is the report that helps you work smarter, not harder. Okay, so these next 4 reports are where things get real. Because while your P&L might show you that you're profitable, these reports tell you whether you actually have cash to work with. So let's walk through them quickly, but practically, because each of these shows you how money is moving or not moving through your business. Starting with accounts receivable. Accounts receivable shows who owes you money. This is where you'll see client balances for products, product orders, time billing, and in some cases, retainers, anything that has been invoiced but hasn't been paid yet. And there's a catch with your accounts receivable. Just because you sent the invoice doesn't mean that it's been paid. So if you're not reviewing this regularly, money could be slipping through the cracks. We tell our designers to use this report as a to-do list. Ask what needs to be collected. Has anything been sitting here too long? Do I need to follow up or clarify a billing issue? Sometimes it's just an oversight, but other times it can reveal a deeper pattern like inconsistent invoicing or communication gaps. Either way, this report is where your cash starts. On the flip side, you've got accounts payable or what you owe to vendors. These are open balances on products, services, and trade invoices, anything that although being invoiced hasn't been paid out yet. You want to review this regularly, especially if you take deposits from clients before paying vendors. As you're reviewing this report, you want to ask yourself, do I have the funds to pay this now, Or do I need to hold off until another client payment hits? This report helps you to plan, not panic, because you're staying ahead of due dates and avoiding late fees and those awkward emails. Vendor deposits is a big one in the design world because your cash is often tied up in product purchases that you haven't received yet. You've paid a deposit to the vendor, but the final product hasn't arrived and the final invoice hasn't been issued. This report tells you where your money is currently sitting in the world. So you want to ask yourself, what have I paid for that's still in progress? Generally speaking, as you review this report, if items have been received, then they should be invoiced, which will move them out of vendor deposits and onto your P&L being recognized as revenue. And finally, we've got client deposits, money that you've received but haven't yet invoiced for. These funds on this report are made up of money applied towards proposals that haven't been invoiced. It can also consist of unused retainers and any credits or funds available that are technically not income yet. It's important to understand that this money still belongs to the client until the work or the product is delivered. You'll notice that client deposits lives in the liability section of your balance sheet because you would potentially be liable to return these funds to the client should you not deliver the products or services. So you'll want to ask yourself, how much of this money is still tied up in undelivered work or product? If this number is high, it can mean that you're behind in invoicing, or worse, that you might be spending money that truly isn't yours. This report keeps you honest and helps you protect the relationship and your cash flow. So while these 4 reports might not sound flashy, they are everything when it comes to protecting your business from cash flow surprises. Because you can't lead your business based off of your bank balance alone. We need to know what's coming in and what's about to go out and what money is technically just passing through our business. These are the reports that give you that visibility and that put you back in control. All right, is everyone still with me? If I haven't lost you, type still here in the chat. Right about now, you might be feeling that this is a never-ending list of things you have to manage and be on top of. And while to some extent that is true, the good news is that you don't have to manage it all alone. Knowing what these reports are is one thing. Knowing who can help you maintain and interpret them is the next. So as we start to wrap up, let's talk about building your financial bench, who to hire, when to bring them in, and how to make sure you're choosing the right kind of support for your business. Before you start to build your financial team, the most important thing you can do is pause and ask, what's actually not working for me right now? Recently, we started working with a designer who had been relying on a CPA who didn't understand the interior design industry, but was responsible for handling her bookkeeping. Her biggest frustration wasn't that the books weren't getting done, it was that no one was flagging overdue client balances and helping her to time her payments. As a result, she was sending out vendor payments way too early, draining her available cash without even realizing it. Once we pinpointed this issue and set her up with a cash planning, it helped her to manage the timing of money in and money out, completely transforming how she ran her business. Now she checks her numbers the way she checks her calendar, calmly and with a plan. So instead of starting with titles like, do I need to hire a bookkeeper or do I need a CFO? Start with the problem. What's not working right now? Are you profitable but cash is tight? You probably need cash flow forecasting. Are your books messy and inconsistent? You want to start with a good industry-specific bookkeeper. Haven't filed your taxes? Bring in a proactive CPA or enrolled agent who understands the industry and processes your projects and the processes your projects follow. You want to think like a designer. Start with function, not the title. What job needs doing? That's what'll tell you who and which role to hire for. But let's be real, hiring can be expensive, especially if you're just starting out or you're coming off of a slow season. Support doesn't mean full-time. You'll want to keep in mind that the right financial support should make or save you money more than it costs you. This isn't about outsourcing to check a box. It's about building a system that helps you make better decisions and keep more of what you earn. So now the question becomes, how do you find someone who fits? What do you actually ask in those conversations to go beyond credentials and make sure that they truly understand your business? Would it be helpful to have a guide that you could reference of smart questions that you can ask to confidently vet a bookkeeper, an accountant, a CPA, or a CFO before you brought them on? If you would find that helpful, type yes in the chat. Okay, very good. Yes, yes, yes. Great. Well, as a thank you for joining us today, I created this guide, 10 questions. 10 questions to ask before you hire financial help. These are powerful questions designed to help you vet prospective financial support for clarity, capability, and compatibility. Our host, Helena, will provide you with the link where you can access this guide. And I also think it's in the resource section as well, the link where you guys can download that. These questions are going to provide the questions provided reveal whether someone is not only technically qualified, but if they're also aligned with the way that you want to run your business. So be sure as you're vetting not to overlook compatibility or fit. You're not just hiring someone to check off a box or file your taxes. You're hiring someone who will directly impact your stress level, your goals, and the way you feel about money. This person or team will likely have access to your most private business details, and maybe even some of your personal finances too. So you want to be really thoughtful about who you bring on. You want someone who values clear communication, not jargon bombs, not making you feel dumb for asking a question. You want someone who respects creative businesses and sees your work as legitimate, even if it doesn't follow traditional models. When your values align, that's when the real magic happens. Here, it's not just about managing money, it's about building a business that's stable, scalable, and in sync with who you are. You're not just hiring someone to do tasks, you're hiring someone who's going to be in your business, someone who will touch your livelihood, your goals, your stress level, maybe even your sleep. So ask yourself, do they value clear communication or do they talk in circles? Do they respect creative businesses or do they make you feel small for not being a financial expert? Do they show up like a partner or do they just bill you by the hour? You deserve a team that gets it, that respects and understands how your business works, and someone who brings insights, not judgment. You want explanations, not just deliverables. All right, before we open it up for questions, let's wrap up with a few key takeaways that I hope you walk away with today. First, start with clarity. If you're feeling pressure or confusion around your numbers, start there. What's causing the stress? Is it disorganized books? Is it unclear cash flow? Is it tax season panic? Your first financial hire should solve a specific issue, not check a box. Next, the second takeaway I want you to walk away with, not all financial help is the same. Not every financial expert does the same thing. Bookkeepers, accountants, CPAs, CFOs, they each play a role. So instead of asking, who should I hire, ask, what do I need right now, and then hire for that. Third, I want you to ask better questions, which will result in you getting better support. You have the resource guide, and I really hope you use it. Asking the right questions helps you to vet someone for clarity, capability, and compatibility. Don't stop at degrees and credentials. Ask how they communicate, how they help you make sense of the numbers, and how they'll help you to grow your business. The fourth takeaway, fit matters. It's not just about finance. It's about finding someone who understands your world, someone who respects your design business and who speaks your language, and who doesn't make you feel silly for asking good questions. And last but not least, I want you to understand that this is a relationship that you are forming, not just tasks that are being completed. At the end of the day, your financial partner isn't just running reports. They're helping you to make decisions to reduce stress and to step more confidently in your role as a CEO, as the owner of your business. The right person should make you feel informed, not overwhelmed, supported, not ashamed. Okay, so with that, I'd love to hear what's coming up for you all. What resonated? What questions do you have? Whether it's something we've covered or a situation that's specific to your business, I'm here for it. Let's dig in. I'm going to start looking at the Q&A session and answer some questions. So if there are any other questions that come up, drop them in the Q&A and we'll start to answer those. Okay. So the question is, what does this type of help typically cost? Do they charge hourly, etc.? So really good question. Unfortunately, not a standard answer. So everyone is going to charge a little bit differently. For example, we charge a flat fee service because we want our designers to know what their costs are, be able to plan for those in the planning of their projects. That is not always the case. I know most firms are going to charge on an hourly basis. So it really just depends. It's a great question to ask and determine how you want to be charged. Are you most comfortable with an hourly format? Then you want to align with someone who charges hourly. I particularly do not like an hourly format. I don't find it to be the most efficient way of charging both for our designers and for us. And again, that's because you won't know your costs. You need to understand your costs in order to be able to bill your clients correctly and to plan your projects accordingly. I hope that answered your question. Are those the same titles in Canada? Are there any differences in the info you're giving for us in Canada? Good question. I don't know. I think typically they're about the same, but I cannot say for sure whether the titles exist. The takeaway there is be familiar with whatever titles are used within your specific country. And again, ask the right questions. Make sure that what you want in terms of help, you're getting based off of the role that you're communicating with. How often do you review each report? So this is where, again, you want to set a cadence and a frequency that is just sustainable for you. We look at our designers' financial reports a couple of times a month, but that's because we're very proactive in bringing them insights. You may find that monthly is not supportive with the amount of projects that you have, your workflows, your schedule. You may want to set aside one specific day a month, set a schedule, whether it's going to be the first Monday of the month, the last Friday of every week. Really, it's important to find a rhythm that works for you and then stick with it. And two, I want to mention there, if you find that you get off, you miss a week, you miss a month, don't beat yourself up, just restart the schedule, get back on the flow that you've set. Will the slides be shared after this presentation? I don't know. Helena has the slides. She can certainly give them to you. If not, reach out to us directly and we'll be happy to give you the slides. Are we getting access to the slides? So same thing. If they're not in the resource section, then reach out to us directly, either by email or give me a call and we can communicate. I can get your information and I will send them to you myself. Okay, we collect 100% deposits for product sales that have a 12-week or less lead time. Very good. as most of our sales are for custom items, okay? We usually pay only 50% up front, typical. We sit the future balance due in a side checking account, but would it benefit to record the 50% of the income to a prepaid deposit until you pay the vendor the final balance? So this is going to depend on your system. In Studio Designer, the system already accounts for this. That's what that vendor deposit, client deposit sections of your balance sheet are for. So when you collect the deposit, because you're collecting 100% upfront, we don't want to record that as income just yet because it hasn't transferred ownership. You have not received those goods. You are not able to deliver those goods to the client. So we don't want to recognize that as revenue. If we did recognize it as revenue, we would be liable to pay the sales tax on something that we haven't received, and we would recognize the revenue from an income tax perspective too soon. So in that case, we would want it to stay on the balance sheet until the product was ready to ship and you were ready to pay the vendor the remaining balance. And that way on your P&L, your income and your expenses are netting against each other in totality. Okay, I hope that answers that question. And again, if anybody needs clarification on any of my answers, again, please feel free to reach out to us separately. You guys have our email address and our phone number. We're happy to clarify or go into further detail about your specific questions. Okay. What is considered best practice regarding the fee and terms for overdue and unpaid client invoices? How long should we wait to charge an overdue fee? And what percentage is acceptable? And how do you collect if it remains unpaid? Okay, great question. So this is going to depend on your contract. Your contract needs to protect you and by outlining the specifics here that you've predetermined. So this is where you might work with an attorney or a contract specialist, but you're also going to take some time to specify how you want this to run. So again, let me look at this regarding the fee for terms. Regarding the fee in terms of overdue and unpaid client invoices. So if you establish that 15 days after an invoice or a proposal is unpaid that you're going to start charging, then I would stay consistent with that. Start charging it. A lot of times our contract will say that we can charge, but then we never charge because we don't want to hurt the relationship with the client. But really at that point, you're breaking contract, which now gives the client the ability to break the contract as well. So stick with whatever your contract stipulates and start implementing from there. How long should we wait to charge an overdue fee and what percentage is acceptable? Again, this is across the board. We see there is no industry standard here. So again, what is going to protect you is what does your contract stipulate? So if you stipulate that 15 days, 25 days, 30 days, whatever it is, do that. What percentage is acceptable? Again, there's no industry standard here. This is going to be what you want it to be. Here, we want it to be something that is going to discourage the client from not paying, but we also don't want it to be astronomical where we start creating conflict that really, in reality, you're not going to want to address. Okay. Annette, very nice. Okay. What if you find the right fit financial professional? Do they have to use the same software? Is it important for them to use the same software as you do? I personally think it is, right? It is beneficial if you guys use the same software. They understand the software being used. If they don't, it can cause some disconnect in really being able to keep your financials accurate, being able to communicate those insights to you. It is not a requirement. This is, again, going to be what is your preference and the level of support that you want. You may decide in the beginning that it's okay for them to use most predominantly a different software, but two, it's going to depend on the firm. So the firm may say, we don't work with this software. We only exclusively work in one software. you guys will partner to come up with the answer for that. I hope that answers that. Okay, yes. Do we do all of the above? What is your role? So in our particular case, we are a team of 4 right now, not including myself, or rather, no, including myself. And so each of us have those specific roles and distinctions. We are an expert in our field. So I am the owner of Propos'Ability. I have the highest level of expertise within our firm, but we have each role separately. So we have a bookkeeper, we have an accountant, we have a CFO. We work with your CPA, whoever that might be, because everyone has different circumstances when it comes to a CPA. We will work with whoever your CPA is. Again, because generally speaking, most CPAs aren't in Studio Designer. They're not familiar with how to use this system. So we can work with them on your behalf to answer questions, to explain to them what's happening. Particularly when it comes to Studio, it's an accrual only based system. So they don't always understand how the financials are running, and we will work with them to explain that. And I am a CFO and wealth advisor as well. So that is my role. I call myself a financial architect because we combine all of those things. Does your firm offer a team to cover all of the areas outlined? Yes, we do. Hope that answers that. Please feel free to reach out to us if you want to discuss the specifics of your firm. How's our time? Okay, we have time for a few more answers. Okay. Looking for recommendations on where to look for a CPA fractional CFO. Surprisingly, ChatGPT has been really good. If you put in exactly what you're looking for, if they have an online presence, it will search Google, it'll search YouTube, and that may be a good way, specifically for industry specific roles that you're looking for. If not, Google word of mouth recommendations. Otherwise, I know there are a couple of, I think like there's the designer's CPA. I know they're specific, I forget his name offhand, but there are a couple of ones. If you reach out to us directly, we can give you a couple of recommendations of ones that we've worked with. Okay. My specific issue is how to see what money I have to hire in order to scale. Is that a cash flow strategy issue, meaning I need a CFO? How do I know if I can afford one? This is a great question. So this is a combination of things. So one, it's understanding, yes, it's understanding your cash flow, but another part of that is kind of engineering your cash flow. So working with the end in mind, or starting with the end in mind, rather, I should say. So what is it that you're trying to accomplish? In this case, it sounds like you want to hire someone. So you would start with that. How much is that hire going to cost? Are you hiring a full-time project manager? Are you hiring a procurement, an expediter? What do those roles typically cost in your area? And then working that cost, working backwards into factoring in that cost into your projects to ensure that those projects are covering that expense. And then when that money comes in, allocating it, separating it out so that you build that reserve so that when you are ready to start the hiring process, it is there. This would be a good time you could work with the CFO because, again, they have that future view. This is a future thing that you want to do. Otherwise, you'd have to, again, it's a little bit more advanced using the balance sheet to extract kind of where money is at and what portion of the money available in your accounts is actually available to you for operating expenses and overhead. Okay. What would be an absolute must for someone who is just starting their business in terms of what help to ask for and how to ask for it? Great question. I actually feel like the help that you need first is some type of software training, financial literacy training. So the first thing that you're going to want to work on or have someone help you with is educating you as the business owner on these topics, really going through and giving you that high level understanding so that when you start to hire someone, generally, which is going to be some sort of a bookkeeper first, because you're just recording. Again, we start with bookkeeping. If we don't have the basic information recorded, none of the other roles can really do their job. So that is going to be one of your first hires. But again, before you do that, you want to be educated, you want to be informed, you want to be empowered to know what whoever you bring on is doing, that they're doing it accurately. Helena, is that all the time we have?
No, you have time. I'm just here to like one or two more questions.
Okay.
I see there's still 7 more in there. People are throwing
Okay.
them in faster than we can do that. So
Yeah.
so yeah, I think
Okay.
if you see any that really stand out, then
Okay.
please, yeah.
Again, if I am not able to get to any of your questions, please reach out to us directly. We're happy to answer any of your questions. Okay, so looking at our website, what specifically does Gary do as our sales tax manager? So in our case, we have a dedicated sales tax manager. Literally all he does is handle sales tax for all of our designers. Because sales tax is state specific and each state has its own regulations, its own specifications for how tax is handled, he literally does that. He prepares a sales tax, he audits sales tax, he will draft those for you, work with you to understand what your sales tax is, and then submit and file that on your behalf. He also, too, if there is ever an issue with the sales tax, if we get some sort of notification, some sort of correspondence from your sales tax state entity, he will handle that on your behalf. Okay. What if you are a small firm and only have 2 people that split the financial duties? Would it be beneficial to hire someone part-time? What if you're a small firm and only have 2 people that split the financial duties? I think it would depend on what financial duties each of them is responsible for. Would it be beneficial to hire someone part-time? Again, it kind of depends on what stage your business is in, and again, where you want to go. So if in a small firm, those 2 people, their time and attention is being spent on kind of daily bookkeeping, daily, in a lot of the cases, data entry for products and services, and that's causing you to not be able to take on as many projects, then maybe it would be good to hire someone who's dedicated to that, so that the roles are reallocated and the focus allows you to be more income generating. I hope that answers that. And I think we're at our time. If not, I can answer.
We're pretty close.
We're at our time. Okay.
I know that there's a few questions about studio designer in there. And I didn't want to presume, but I think if the client is working in studio designer and you as their financial support is also in studio designer, that does help when
Absolutely.
you guys are talking kind of potatoes to potatoes. And then I think, Leslie, the question about converting over is probably going to be more of a question for the studio designer team. Caprice, I don't know if you know how easy it is to convert that over.
We do.
Okay.
We handle
Perfect.
conversions as well. I will say it's as easy as your QuickBooks is clean. So if it is accurate, up to date, again, if you have your purchase orders, if you have proposals, if you have that information in QuickBooks, it is a little bit easier. But because Studio is a little bit more data heavy on the item side, it's still going to take a moment. And the other part of conversions is training. So you're having to learn a new system in the midst of projects. So it's a little bit intensive. But working with a firm that has the experience, converting someone out of QuickBooks and into Studio is going to be fundamental, as well as scheduling and aligning the conversion period to maybe when your projects are ramping down and you're going to start bringing on only new projects, or just setting a hard stop in the QuickBooks file. We're working on a conversion right now where they're going to end in QuickBooks as of May either 30th or 31st. So we have a hard start as of June 1st. Nothing else is going into QuickBooks. So those are the things that are going to affect how easy and effective the conversion is.
Perfect. And I think this last question, Colleen, we got to it. We made it. Do you have a set flat fee for your team, or do you craft a proposal for each client? So this one's about you guys.
Okay. So it's a little bit of both, if I can say. So we have, once we understand what it is that you're looking for specifically, we understand most predominantly the volume and level of support that you need. That is where you will have a fixed flat fee. And the way we structure it is our flat fees are designed to grow with you based off of where you're at in your business and what additional, again, support services that you need. So as your volume increases, the amount of support that you need on a regular basis, that's when we're going to start having conversations about maybe a different package is beneficial to you. But again, you can reach out to us directly and we can schedule a time to understand the specifics of your business and then talk about pricing.